to Athletics LLC with Lamar, Lucious, Big League Chew, and my man Clyde. You're about to be schooled in all things track and field. This is experience.
Yes, sir.
We are talking past, present, future. Y'all listen up. Let's go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Number 31. Whoa, third decade. Just kidding. Welcome to Athletics LLC. My name is Big League Chew. Thank you for joining us for another enticing, this is going to be enticing, episode of These Three Tiles with me about all things track and field and not track and field. So let me start by introducing Lamar, Fight to 270 Huffins. Oh, wow.
Well played.
Lucious.
What's up, everybody?
And Clyde. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us once again. And we're going to hit the ground and we're going to run really fast. But are we going to be as fast as some NFL players? That's the question. So, you like the build up? That was a good one. That was in the making there. So let's talk about NFL speed. Can these NFL players come to U.S. trials and contend in these races that they say they can? What do we think?
Who would like to set this on fire first?
Being the elder statesman here, it'd be my absolute pleasure to call absolute bullshit on the total statement of this. Okay, so let's just start right there. So I had the pleasure of reading something from someone that said they were a track coach that was comparing numbers. Well, this guy, if you watch the video, he was 670 something for the 60, and the other guy was 6'8" something for the 60. And these guys, typically the 6'7" guys typically go 10-0. Not sure who these people are. They run 6'7" indoors and run 10-0 outdoors. But the fallacy of the argument for me begins with the fact that they had a running start. Okay.
It's important.
Exactly. So if you're 6'7" with a running start, that means you're 6'9", which means now at best you're a quality female sprinter. So it's no different than saying because a guy runs fast in track that he can therefore be a great football player. And because one football player runs another football player down does not automatically qualify him to go to the Olympic trials and qualify for anybody's team. That's disrespectful to track and field. That's disrespectful to the 100-meter sprinters in track and field, to the coaches in track and field, that you think that you can just pull off the pads. Okay, because arguably the fastest guy in the league is Tyreek Hill. Arguably, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's an argument, at least.
Yes, it's an argument at least. But I don't see Tyreek Hill making anybody's Olympic trials team. No. So, have at it, my young friends.
Well, the funniest part about that, I'll just segue. You know what? This is be like a relay. I'll just grab it from where you left it.
Okay.
I don't think people realize how much faster Tyreek Hill is than DK Metcalf.
Mm-hmm.
Because they both play offense, so you'll never see them race. But I don't think they really understand like how much faster Tyreek Hill is. DK Metcalf is fast for a football player. And he's really fast for a dude who weighs 230 pounds. Like, I'll give him that. His force output, like, that's what, the scientist in me, like, I want to see that. I want to put his ass on some force plates and see what we really got, because I think he's a freak. But we just talking about fast. I think the only way we can really debunk this, like, going forward is we need to take, like, 4 or 5 world-class 100-meter guys, put them in either a helmet, shells, and cleats and run a 40 on grass, or shoulder pads, no helmet, in cleats, on grass, so people could understand how much faster track people are than football people.
Big League, what did Christian Coleman run when he ran the 40 a couple years ago?
Ooh, I did look this up.
4-1-2.
It's like 4-1-2 or 4-1-4, something like that. But this is what people don't understand. Like, look,
Playing around on a random day.
right. That was part of warm up that he went outside to go have practice. Like, I remember when I was younger, there was some football guy that was out there running his mouth about running 40s, and I bet him $100. I was like, listen, you run 2 40s, you take the best one. Whenever you're done, I'll run 5 of those in a row with a walk back recovery. I won. That was the easiest $100 I've ever won in my life. And let's be clear, I was a 10.22 and 6.61 PB sprinter. I was fast.
Therefore, goes back and debunks the whole 6-7 runs 10 up.
Exactly, because I was fast, just fast enough to not be a sprinter. Right?
Because
I tell
in track and field world, 10.2 is not fast.
Listen, I ran 10.22. That year, I was the 29th best sprinter in the United States.
You suck.
Fast.
In 10.22, you were a very fast decathlete.
Like, none of them could throw the shot, though, so we're good.
Right. So you're a very fast decathlete, but you're not a fast sprinter. Right.
No, exactly. And so, like, that's kind of, like, I'm a perfect example of what we're talking about, right? If you put me on a track with other decathletes, I look like a 10-0 guy. Right? If you put me on a football field with other football players, I look like a 9-9 guy. But if you put me on a track with 9-9 guys, I look like a 10-2 guy. Because that's what I am. And so, you know, not to just like beat the general public up, because part of this is our own fault. The reason why people think that football players are as fast as track people is because we will never debunk the myth and just do one football thing one time. Because all we got to do is like, if we just get 4 or 5 elite 100-meter guys to run 40s and one of them runs 3.9 or 4 flat, then they would understand there are no football players that are as fast as elite track guys. There just aren't. There's some fast football players, but not 100-meter specialist guys.
I'm going to take a slightly different approach to this. I like what you both said, and obviously I agree with it. This entire premise is stupid. Okay, it's stupid. And I saw the post on social media with the whole drawing these crazy comparisons. Like, the whole thing is stupid. However, I don't believe it is our responsibility as the track and field community to put on some shoulder pads and go out there and run some 40s. 1, we don't have anything to prove they do. 2, we don't get paid like they do. So I say, to hell with all of that. I say, let them in. You know what? We need more viewership anyway. I say, go ahead and take Tyreek Hill, take DK Metcalf. Don't put Marquise in there because Marquise has sense. He knows better. Pick 3 other dudes. Let them come on to Eugene. Give them a pass. Put them in the prelims. Watch them get thrashed in the first round, and then send their ass home. Make them walk out the stadium. Like, just make them exit. Like this is so stupid, and it is insulting, and it is a thing that we have to hear every single year. And, you know, ESPN doesn't do it any justice because now they got these little speed trackers in the highlights where they show the dude. ESPN 2 weeks ago told us that Daniel Jones was faster than Lamar Jackson. Like, the whole thing is stupid. And for me, when I'm confronted with, you know, just outwardly stupid people in my life or outwardly just ridiculous notions, I say, you know what? Put them on blast. Bring them in. Give them a room at the Hilton. Let them come on out there and line it up. And listen, I'm not convinced, you know, it's so dumb. It's really, really, really dumb. And, you know, we all like football. We're all fans of the sport. Some people are fans of the NFL. Some people aren't. But if you even Tyreek Hill would not make a team. He wouldn't make the final. Like, it's ridiculous. So I would love to see it. Somebody make it happen. ESPN make it happen. DK, if you watch the LLC, bring your asses to Oregon. We will all stand around and watch. It'll be the best YouTube video ever. but I assure you that that's not a fight that they really, really want. So it's just dumb. Stop this.
The
Please
funniest
stop.
part is if they interviewed Tyreek Hill, he would tell all of them, y'all don't want that. Y'all do not want that smoke. Because he knows how fast track people are.
I think Tyreek Hill believes he could come to USA's and make the final. I think he believes.
Bruh, he didn't win the NCAA title in the 200 indoors.
Hey, listen, I hear you. We all understand this, but I've heard that dude talk before. I've seen his social media. He believes it.
And the incredible thing is, like, it's just disrespectful for me. That's all. That's all I got. I'm gonna keep riding on the disrespect tip. That you think that you can just take your pads off, come jump in the blocks against people that do this every single day. No, it's just disrespectful. And granted, seeing and guys like Tyreek should know better, because Tyreek has, been in a situation where he was just a pure track guy, right?
Yeah.
And when he was a pure track guy, he wasn't the best guy.
In what conference was that, by the way? In what conference?
The Big 12.
Big 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't win the Big 12.
No, he did.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I think so.
In the 200?
But yeah, in the 200 indoors.
Yeah.
But I watched Gino take him apart.
Dedrick.
Oh, my bad. It was Dedrick.
Yeah.
It was one of the two monsters you had at that point in time.
No. We're not going there. It was Dedrick.
Do not digress.
Gino was in the other final. Stop it.
Okay, like I said, one of the two monsters you had at that time.
Anyway,
Roger Goodell, Max, somebody
set it up.
Set it up.
Yeah. And see, I also believe that, as Lamar alluded to, if we take certain track guys and really prime them to get after a 40, somebody's gonna run 3.8.
Yeah.
Because I'm not so sure. I have to do some research. I'm not so sure Gatlin didn't run 3.9 or something during his suspension. I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
I mean, right off for because Dallas will sign anybody, so he probably signed off for the Cowboys or something.
Somebody with a bigger brain than me, I'm 100% sure, can take Christian Coleman's one of his world records in the 60 and tell us what he was at 40 yards.
Oh, yeah.
Look, we are all friends with Tim, and Tim was like laughing about whatever he ran when he ran Tennessee. He goes he said, just warming up. It's like no big deal. He's way
right. That was the greatest thing about that whole video was anybody in our world who watched it, we all said the same thing. He's playing around.
Exactly.
Like there was nothing serious about that.
It was very clear that Tim said, whatever you do, don't hurt yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Tim's a pretty smart guy. He's like, yeah, you go ahead and drop 4-1 or so, and then that's enough. Okay. Because I think all of us know that Coleman can run a lot faster than that.
Yeah.
So football people don't want to hear it, but I'm sure he can run under 4 seconds.
Yeah. The official time was 4:12.
Okay.
All right.
And then, so here's, because I've never done the math, honestly. So I just did the math. 40 yards is 36.576 meters.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that it could be sub 4.
Yes.
For sure.
And that's in practice. That's not a competition. That's in practice.
I know women on a track that have gone 4.6 or better. It's not like the 40 is not a thing. Like, stop.
And mind you, look, let's just be completely honest, right? First of all, that's out of blocks with a gun start. If he could just do a 3-point and it goes when he goes,
oh yeah, that's a whole.
He could run under 4 like 4 times in a row. Like walk back, do it again. Walk back, do it again. I could do this all day. Anybody else? Like, I'll say this. I'll bet you there's 4 or 5 long jumpers, elite level long jumpers that can run 4.0 and 4.1.
Probably. And speaking of the long jump, if we're keeping it in the football context, I will take Mr. Goodwin in whatever distance foot race Hill wants to have. I'll take Mr. Goodwin.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't in a 200, but in a 40 for sure.
Yeah. I
have a question that might stir the pot, and we don't have to answer it. Why do you think that he doesn't speak up?
Say again?
Why do you think that he doesn't speak up, Marquise?
Marquise? Oh, that's the world he lives in. That's the world he eats in. So it doesn't help him to, to get into that fight. But
and he's a long jumper.
He's a long jumper, right? But if people
that's a different world too.
Some people might be loosely aware. It was either last year or the year before. I'm pretty sure it was last year. Down in Florida, they had this random spectacle of indoor 40-yard dashes for $1 million. And a whole bunch of football people showed up. Marquise showed up there like, there's no way that y'all are going to actually take this away from me. It was laughable how easily he won that.
Mm-hmm.
And again, phenomenal jumper, not a sprinter. He knows.
Because if I remember the equation, the majority of the world-class long jumpers are 10-1-ish, 10-2 low guys, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because I think Marquise is I think his PB is like 16.
Yeah.
I think it's like 10, 16.
Yeah.
That feels right.
Yeah.
What you got next, Chu? This is
well, speaking of fast, what does the suspension of Christian Coleman do to the men's 100 meter race in terms of the medals and the exposure for the event in Tokyo?
Oh, wow.
Go ahead, sir.
I'll say the first thing it does is ends its relevance. The 100 meters is now an Olympic event. It's not a marquee event any longer, because whoever wins, unfortunately, the conversation is going to be about who's not there. I had this conversation as a sidebar with Lucious, like the day that all this went down. And I said that the sad part about it is that we so over police our sport that that Christian Coleman not being in the Olympics because of drug suspicion is a bigger story than if anybody ran 968. It just is. The sport is couched such that the negative story is twice as important as the positive. And so the unfortunate part is just, to me, just to truncate it and keep it simple, what does it do to it? It makes the 100 meter final probably more competitive, but way less relevant. My opinion.
Okay, so that's interesting. And I was going to vehemently disagree with you, but you slipped in that line at the end. It absolutely makes the race more competitive, because I think the vast majority of people in the world would say going into it that Christian would have been an overwhelming favorite to win the event. So if the marquee event, the men's 100 meter dash, is all of a sudden more competitive, to me, it's more interesting. I'm not going to say it's better, but it is more interesting for that exact conversation that undoubtedly is going to happen. Call it an asterisk, call it whatever you want. People will be on different sides of it, but the conversation will be, oh, wow, so-and-so won the race. Yeah, but he wouldn't have beat, or yes, he would have beat the man that isn't there. So, for me, it's a bigger story going in because of this, which is now going to hang over that event. And from the American perspective, I think it opens the door so wide that we don't really know who's going to try to walk through that. I think that there's a decent possibility that you might see some people, consider, focusing on the 100 where they wouldn't have otherwise. Just from a pure money perspective, does Noah focus more on the 100 now than the 2? Because he's the odds-on favorite to win the 2, but we all understand the real money is being the 100 meter gold medalist. So, there's a lot of things that could be changed just by his absence, and I think overall it makes it more interesting. What does it do to the credibility of the race? I mean, I guess that depends on how fast they run, right?
So I'm gonna kind of go all over the place here for a second, but first of all, no matter what's going on, there's always going to be the sidebar conversation. It's always going to be, well, if Christian was here, well, Christian wasn't here. Knowing the U.S. media as we do, there's going to be the side piece where they're going to be asking the question, would it be different if Coleman was here? That kind of thing. I'm of the opinion that the race just got more competitive. And it's supremely more competitive because now there's a bunch of guys who think they can win. Whereas before, as you said, overwhelming favorite, Mr. Coleman. Now there's a bunch of guys who think they can win. So therefore, because all those guys come in there with a little bit more testosterone flying through them a little bit, now you'll see probably somebody else get down to the 9.7s. I believe that. Okay. To your point of people changing focus, I think that, we've already seen the tweet from Mr. Norman that says 100 with question marks, so now is he talking about running 100? Personally, Michael, stay in the 4. Stay in your world. But
has Flamingo inquired about running 100?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Please behave yourself, because he might watch this and now you put some nonsense in his head. And if he does, I'm calling you and I'm gonna say, see, you started this mess. Now talk you about it.
Hello, Paul. Yeah, we have an open lane in 100. Would you like Flamingo to run?
Yeah, no. And as far as Noah goes, like Noah could care less whether Christian's in the race or not. I was fortunate enough to recruit Noah, and during the recruiting process, Noah sat in my house and told me, I am going to be the Olympic champion in both events in 2020. So that's always been his goal. It was never a thought in his mind that he was just going to be a 200-meter guy. He's always said he was going to be great in both. And I think if you ask Noah, and he was honest with you, which we all know Noah will be, he would tell you, whether Christian Coleman's in the race or not, I'm winning it. So I don't think that affects Noah in any way at all. Noah's plan has always been to win them both, and knowing his coach Lance Brahman as we do, Lance will have him ready. Yeah, he will.
So I want to circle back real quick. I want to solidify my point about what it does to the relevance of the race, unfortunately. You guys remember a long time ago, Chuck, you might not because you're not that old. There was a U.S. 100-meter sprinter that missed the final of the 100 because the coach had the wrong schedule.
Ray Robinson.
Eddie Hart.
Eddie Hart and Ray Robinson, they both missed, yeah.
Eddie Hart and Ray.
I just happen to know Ray personally. That's why I called his name. Yeah.
Right, and it's funny because I know Eddie because he was a Berkeley guy and he was in the Bay Area when I was there. Well, the reason I bring that up is far more people know about the two guys that missed the race than know that Alan Wells is the last white guy to win the 100-meter gold medal.
That's true. Because when you started this story, I immediately went to say he's gonna tell us who won it. I knew it was a white guy, I just couldn't remember his name.
And the point to it is like Alan Wells ran really fast. You know what I mean? Like there was no cakewalk that Eddie was going to win or that
Ray
was going to win, right? But the point is the media is always going to make it about who's not there when somebody's not there.
And they didn't miss the final; they missed the first round.
They missed the first round.
Yeah, first round. Yeah.
So
which is worse, right? Because they could have jogged.
Right.
So let me correct me if I'm wrong, somebody. When the official news came out, the dates that Christian has been expelled for would, in theory, allow him to make next year's world championships. He would be cleared from suspension for the American World Championships, right? So, in theory, if he can avoid any more madness, then it really sets up the most compelling 100 meters.
That's the race you want to see right there.
That's the race you want to see.
And because it's on American soil, it makes it all like that's the whole thing. So again, everybody has different opinions on this whole thing. it's like 98% he's not going to be there. He still has an appeal with Cass or whatever. Not going to work. He's not going to be there. So for what it means for the future of the event, I think that was part of the question, right?
Mhm.
It sets up an Olympics, which is always the Olympics. Like the Olympics is the Olympics is the Olympics, right? But because of this situation, it sets up maybe the most compelling, most dramatic, biggest spectacle race. And it just so happens that it's going to take place on our soil. So
In
ultimately,
the cathedral. Don't take that out of there now. In the cathedral.
in the cathedral, that's right. So in the end of all of this, like in the really long term, as far as the sport is concerned, this whole thing could be a big, huge gift.
So
Well, and anytime there's a return of a superstar from any situation, injury, suspension, whatever it is, it's always a big deal. And because it's the men's 100 meters, and because it's the guy who everybody thinks is the next guy to run under 9.6 or under 9.7, and because it's him, because he's done a marvelous job of being ready for the big one, right? So who thinks he's not going to be ready? And knowing him as we do, the competitor that he is, the competitor that his coach is, who really believes that dude's not going to be ready to run something retarded in Eugene, which is, by the way, the scene of his 982.
Absolutely. But and you know what's even more interesting as far as this whole thing for me, it's when Christian, he broke the world record in the 60, and then he stepped out there and he won world championships in Doha, right? But it wasn't just for the track and field world, it wasn't just that he won the 100. It was that he beat Justin, because there is the overwhelming majority of our sport did not want the crown to leave Bolt and land on Justin's head. So Christian went from, thank you, we don't have to watch Justin win. And I'm not on that page. Like, I'm not one of those people, but a lot of people felt like that. Now Christian's the villain. Like, he was set up to be,
now he's Justin.
Now he's the
now
villain.
he's Justin. Yep.
Now he's
Right.
Justin.
Now he's the villain.
But now, just as a side note, remember, Justin wore the crown because Justin dethroned Bolt in 17.
I understand that, but nobody, you know how this is.
Yeah.
The Europeans didn't want to see that.
Right.
They didn't want that. They wanted no part of that. Like, they were
Right.
sick about that.
Right.
So for him to have worn it just that long, everybody was good with that. Everybody was like, yes, yes, yes. We can deal with this one. He's off the table. And now he's going to have to be the villain. It's like LeBron left Cleveland and went to Miami, and he was instantly the villain. And he didn't like being the villain. I don't know. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of psychological trauma where everybody was cheering for you. Now a big swath of the world is going to be against him. How he responds to that is going to be interesting to watch.
I know Christian pretty well. Christian will revel in that. He will love every minute.
I couldn't agree more. And I will say this: the one gift that this in the end could possibly give us is this. If Noah wins the 100 and contests the 100 at World Championships in Eugene against Christian, that is the race of,
it's Ali.
It's Ali Frazier, because the last time we had that race was when Bolt introduced himself to the world in the first Olympics. The last time we had a race where people wanted to watch that much, but it has to happen that way.
And there's a guy who I think is a sleeper in this situation that people don't talk about him much. But if this guy stays healthy and his training, from what I hear, is going really well, Ronnie Baker's a problem, guys.
Well, listen, we've all been waiting for Ronnie Baker to be a problem.
Yeah, no, he's a problem.
We want Ronnie Baker to show up and be a problem.
Yes, we do. Because now there's a three-headed 9.7 problem in the USA.
Yes.
But the funny part is,
if we don't run 35 seconds in the 4x4, 4x1,
yes,
then it's going to be a problem, right?
Well,
the funny part is,
let's not open that can today. Let's not do that.
No, let's not, because you've been going off on that lately. I noticed that is in the social media world. You've been lighting people up about this relay lately, so I ain't gonna get you started on that tonight. So
I guess to me the funny part is that if it's better for the sport, unfortunately, if Noah wins than if Ronnie does.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a better story.
It's just a better story the following year because when I say nobody, obviously I don't mean any of us. I don't mean any track people. We all know who Ronnie Baker is, but nobody else does.
For me, I think it's only a bigger story if Noah wins them both.
Sure.
Then it's a bigger story. But if no matter who wins, even if it's somebody outside of those two, no matter who wins, they're coming to the U.S. You're coming to Christian's backyard. You're coming to Noah's backyard. No matter who wins the 100 in Tokyo, that 100 meters in Eugene is a huge story. Yeah. You know, and that's something that Clyde talks about all the time, capturing the moment. You know, from the moment they cross the finish line in Tokyo, within minutes, somebody needs to start talking about that and stirring that pot, because that's one that's going to be one of those Dan and Dave deals. We just got to get everybody there. Nothing, you know, not on the Dave deal, but everybody's got to get there.
Just let it go. Just let it go. Move to the next question.
No, look, I didn't mean it that way.
Get to the next one.
I literally was like, gonna let you see if this one blossoms. Okay,
Lamar, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way.
We good.
Know, Clyde, you're wrong for that.
No, I'm not, because I saw his face. No, I'm not.
But that's what it is, right?
You're absolutely right. That's what it is.
Yeah. So I apologize, Lamar. It was a horrible example. Horrible analogy. I'm sorry.
Hey, it didn't affect me. We good.
Yeah.
All right.
I was the footnote to that story. Like right after he no-highted, because I had two misses also on the other pit. Right after he no-highted, I told my coach, "There's no way on this planet I'm doing that."
So he inspired you not to do that, right?
Oh yeah, I was not having the world fall in on me. No chance. Because the funny part is, like, I was so new to the sport, right? That's what I thought happened to you if you no-highted. Like it wasn't even I was so young in the sport, I couldn't even put the whole Dan and Dave thing together. So I thought that's what happened when you no-highted. Like the media came from everywhere, you know what I mean? And like the world had ended. So I was like, yeah, that's not happening to me ever.
All right, let's take Lamar out of this nightmare and we'll move on.
Not Lamar's nightmare.
It is. You're right.
Just get
You're
there.
right.
Just go.
Hey, look. Just for the record, that's your people, not me, getting on you. I am not in this.
We're good.
Yeah. Oh, I know you are. I'm not.
Okay.
And then you got Hughes chiming in too. See, I
know. Gotta take my shots when I can. So
absolutely, you're very good at that, by the way. Just for the record.
As long as it's followed up with a smile, I'm good.
Yes, there you go.
All right. So, off topic, but still a good one. Is the regional system better for the little guys, or is it for the traditional powers to be powers?
I'll go first on that one. As just recently have I ceased to be working at what would be considered a little guy, and I've said this the entire time through every evolution of the regional system. It's necessary for the little guy. It's the only righteous path that the little guy has to get in there, show that they belong, and compete for their spot. Like the powers that be, the big money programs who, pre-COVID can identify the races they want to run in, split their teams, spend money, isolate, do whatever they need to do to get their marks in. Oftentimes, like the little guy needs that one shot to advance. And I've seen it happen too many times. And I've seen too many kids walk into a regional meet, number 35 plus, and emerge in the top 12. And without that system, they never get a shot. Without that system, a whole bunch of kids who made All-Americans would never have gotten the opportunity to do that. So I will always be a fan of that system. Each time we change it, it seems to get better. So if there's a new tweak to it, we'll see. But the system is there to give the little people a chance to go show what they can do, and I love it.
The Godfather saying no tweak.
No, look, no tweak. All the stuff is fine. This tweaking stuff, no, stop it.
Let's not act like people ain't trying to tweak it, sir.
Okay, look, but don't you encourage them to tweak it, sir. That's what I'm saying. You all here talk about, so somebody said, hey, Clyde said tweak it, so let me start making no. Leave the tweaking stuff alone.
Okay.
Lamar, have at it. So would you like me to go next? Would you like to be the anchor man on this one?
That's you're the coach. I just do what you tell me to do, sir.
So anyway, okay. So let me address a couple of things here. Like, one is I disagree with you that a lot of people. I'm not saying some don't, but very few people split their teams outdoors. That happens a lot indoors. It does, but outdoors, not many people are splitting their teams to get regional marks. That doesn't happen that much. I do agree that is definitely a path for the little guy, but I also think it's a fail-safe in a lot of places for the bigger schools as well. Okay, because that's something like there's a lot of bigger schools that have that same opportunity that you talk about of bringing somebody in that's 24th or so and get them in the top 12, right? So I think that it helps both the little guy and the big guy in that arena. I don't pay close enough attention to this, but I don't think that on a yearly basis, there's always a few of the feel-good story of the guy or the girl that comes in at 35th or whatever and gets in there. But I would say that there's just as many of those stories from the big schools as there are from the little schools. I don't think that there's as many of those stories. I do think that if we're talking about it from a financial standpoint, I'm not necessarily agreeing with the whole splitting of the teams deal. I don't think that happens as much, but I do agree with you that the opportunities, like usually the facilities that the bigger Power 5, Autonomy 5s, or the Group of 5 schools have run in better facilities at their conference championships, right? Which is where most of the marks come from. So I will totally agree with that. But I think that, that this helps both sides a little more than people realize. I can totally tell you that my team has benefited from, a guy that's a little dinged up, that I can bring along slowly because I can look and say, look, let's just run 46.3 because you're going to get to the regional if you get to. We run 46.3 before, then we'll be fine. We just got to be ready to run 45 high by the regional, and then we can get down where we need to be for. I take Tony McQuay, for instance. People don't remember probably, but in 2012, Tony didn't run a 400 until the conference meet. And then he ran 45 high, and then he ran 45 high, and then he went to the national meet and ran 44. But out the regional system, he probably never. I run out of time. Let's put it that way.
And I don't disagree with any of that. Let me be clear. Of course, it helps both sides. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, to sum it up, line up and run. And that's why I love that system, because you have to earn your seat at the dance.
Yeah, and that's not the conversation here. We all like it because of that. I think the question is just like, which side do you think it helps the most? I think it gives the smaller schools a path to get there that they wouldn't have, because I think that if you open, I think because it's not like indoors and you're only trying to be a top 48 guy on your side of the country, it doesn't put people in that panic of trying to get in the top 16 overall. Like you see people doing stuff like the weekend before their conference meet going to run a 4x4 on an oversized track to make sure they get into the national meet. That doesn't happen outdoors, So I don't think that side of the argument holds water for me, but I do agree that if it was a descending order list outdoors, now it becomes a definite disadvantage to the smaller schools, because then that's when all the traveling stuff would happen, But like I said, I think that if you went and looked at it every year, there's just as many feel-good stories about the people that were 35th and all that stuff moving into the top 12 from the big schools there as the small schools. There's just as many on both sides.
Sure. I accept that. Yeah.
But look, I agree. I said that from the when they put the meet in, I'm like, I'm good with this because we know how to compete. If you know how to compete, you can get in top 12 somehow. So fight to 270. What you got for us, brother?
So I, look, I feel like this. I feel like for the most part, and I'm sure that I'm off by one or two from year to year, but I feel like for the most part, the really talented kid at the small school was going to find a way to get in. I'm old enough to have been in the last generation of descending order list only, and the first generation of the first iteration of some level of regional. And descending order list, excuse me. And the descending order, well, before the descending order list, that was just flat out brutal. But the descending order list, I always felt like, other than a few people that juked the system, it was okay. It definitely created way more obstacles for the small schools than the big. But if the question, which it is which does the regional system help more? As much as I'm glad that the little guy from time to time gets in and has a path and gets to take down a big guy, I love that. I'm a fan of that story, right? I was a fan of your Alabama State 4x1, and you know this. So, like, I'm a fan of that, right? But I firmly believe that what it does more so than anything, and I think who it helps more, is the biggest and best programs, because it gives them a pathway to the national meet. Like it then makes it such that we only got to be at this level to make sure that we're in the meet. And then we can build our season properly. We can do more training than we do competing. And then when we get to where it really matters, we get to the regional meet, like, I got to beat half these dudes and then beat half them dudes. And I'm in the meet, right? You go from 48 to 24, 24 to 12. Like, okay, right? I can do that. If you're talking about one of the best guys in the country, like, one of the best women in the country, like, you're still not talking about maximal efforts to get to the national meet in some cases. It's difficult, no question, but I think the bigger, better schools who have the greater resources, they can do more with the regional concept, and they get more people to the national meet. I mean, every year, whenever they have the list of teams, of teams and number of participants at the final site, it's like Oregon 56, Florida 49. You know what I mean? It's always big schools, LSU, and so, like, as much as I'm appreciative of the little guys and the little ladies that get there and occasionally knock one off. The truth is, when you get to the final site, it's Power 5 Central. There's way more Power 5 kids at the national meet at the final site than there would be in the descending order list, to be honest. And so just on a, holistic amount, like number of people at the meet, I think it helps the big schools the most. I mean, I appreciate the stories. I really do. I'm a fan of those who are not given everything, who show up, knock people in the mouth, and take stuff. I'm a huge fan of that narrative. But in most cases, the major schools, like, they got their whole relay there, all the alternates and everything else in events, because they
would be there anyway.
No, not in descending order list. No chance. I don't think you remember how cutthroat and crazy that descending order list situation was.
I ran in it. I ran in the last year of the list and the first year of the regional. I ran in that. I was running. I remember. And I remember the shenanigans that used to go on too.
Yeah, I mean, it's now, look, the first iteration, we'll all agree, and I'm going to say this and we're going to move on. The first iteration of the regional system was a complete and utter debacle, because you could never.
They didn't get the map right.
Yeah, they had too many regions, and you can't make the same number of pole vaulters in the East as you can in the West. Just like you can't make the same number of sprinters in the East as you can in the West. So just
the big problem with that situation was all the fail safes.
Yeah.
or the fact that you could run and then decide you weren't going to run nationals and somebody gets moved up, all that stuff. You know, that
Yeah,
just
all of that.
it was just that just was not very well thought out at all.
I think I would be a fan, and I know we're not going to really talk about tweaking, but I just think 48 is too big of a number. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
and then we can move on.
We did that topic before. We did that.
Yeah, for sure. We did.
Run it back. Watch episode 12.
Yeah,
you're right. We fixed the regional system already, so let's move on.
Yeah, we did. So the last thing I want to say about it is that I think that, you know, being at the meet and hearing the screeching from the stands or from the track when the little guy makes it, you know, the excitement of the people that did that, you know, that's hard to downplay, you know. And so the people that have that opportunity and take advantage of it, I think it's wonderful. I do.
It's magic.
Yeah, but I also agree with Lamar that, you know, and because it's been beneficial to my program, that it is very helpful to the big schools, because again, I'm not like under the descending order list, you have to plan for a big mark somewhere, hopefully even before your conference championships, right? Because you never know what's going to happen in conference. But with this system, just simply saying to yourself, I just want to be in the top 48. And then I just want to be in the top 12, and then I'm gonna get it done.
Now,
if you're of that mindset,
I'm gonna throw one last thing in there, and I think Lamar will agree with me on this. This is one of those moments, respectfully, where Lucious gets to sit on the mountain and have a skewed perspective, because to your credit, sir, you know, 9 times out of 10, the people in your jersey know how to compete, show up ready to compete. There's a whole lot of big boys and big girls that find a way that pressure of performing when they have to manages to bust a lot of pipes. And so for that reason is another reason why, I don't know if it helps or it hurts, but it defines who knows how to compete. And when you're at the regional meet, the name on your jersey can't save you. You either know how to line up and get it done in that moment, or you don't. Now, yours usually do. Great,
but you would agree that having Florida on your chest doesn't guarantee you're going to get it done, right?
Not a damn thing.
Thank you, appreciate it. Because I'm still trying to figure out what sitting on said mountain has to do with anything here.
Well, what I'm saying is you get to sit up there and look down and be like, oh, that's cute. They wasn't ready to compete. Oh, that's cute. They ain't never ready to compete. Like, there's some trends.
I know.
In Power 5 that
let me be clear, and Lamar will definitely agree with me on this because we've had this discussion. I walk out of that meet and sometimes I don't know who else qualified other than what we did. So I'm not paying attention to what they did. True or false? Yeah. True.
I mean, that unfortunately for you, that is 100% true, but I think that solidifies Clyde's point.
No, it doesn't, because he says I'm looking at other people, and I'm not. I'm not.
But at the end of the day, I think what Clyde's trying to say is, look, you can teach your kids to compete, and you don't recruit what I'm saying is, like, look, you don't recruit one kid to your team that is not expected to be in the top 48 in one half of the country.
Yeah. You're right about that.
Like, there's not a kid that if a kid on your team doesn't make the regional meet and they're completely healthy, you're probably going to cut them because they don't belong.
No.
Okay.
Hold on a second. See, now we're going to stop that.
Okay.
I don't cut people. What are you talking about?
Okay. You know what? You're much nicer than me. How about this? I'll say it. I'll be the a-hole. If I was at that school and I had a kid that was healthy all year and they couldn't manage to be in the top 48 in half the country, you do not belong at my school.
Okay, so let me say this, right? To be fair, I don't cut people, so stop saying that.
I just said that. I backed off and said, okay, back
that way up, because I don't do
it was
that.
Metaphorical.
Yeah,
it was
very,
metaphorical.
yeah.
I know
okay.
You are
Clyde,
very
you're not
nice. You're a very nice individual. You would not cut anyone.
Clyde is not Clyde, you're terrible. That was awful.
Hey, look at this. See that dunk? That was a Clyde alley-oop.
Exactly. That was awful, Clyde. But so to your point, I think that any program out there that's trying to be successful, if your goal is to only be in the top 48 in your half of the country, then that's my first problem, right? Because there's at no point in time am I talking to any of my athletes about we got to make the regional meet. That's not a thing, you know. And so the goal, you know, there's bigger fish to fry here, and that has nothing to do with me sitting on top of a mountain. That's just a mindset. Okay, so I don't know, this whole mountain thing is just about once every 3 weeks he throws that at me, and I don't know why. But I want you to remember. I was once down there in that valley you're talking about, though.
Absolutely. But that's why you should enjoy the perch.
But see, it's just like
can I debunk something real fast?
Yes.
Listen, I love you, and you know that I do.
Be careful, because I'm gonna light you up on this one. I'm gonna light you up.
You are my brother.
Go ahead.
What valley is it that you speak of, sir? You look.
Yeah.
You weren't even a bad high school coach.
Let me tell you something. Okay, let me give you a little bit. If you like to say revisionist history, right? In 2006 or 7, we were 51st in the country outdoors. That's below the valley.
Yes, and you know what? That is below the valley for someone who has been where you've been. What I'm telling you, and hold on a second.
But you can't tell me I wasn't in the valley, because we were the valley that year.
No, you just had a bad year.
We had a horrible year. And as you know, I was so mad, I wouldn't even leave the stadium. I'm like, this just can't happen again. And this is just not who I am. You know, he's like, you know, he's like, you can't sit here all day. I'm like, well, I need a few more minutes. So like, this is enough. But I appreciate, you know, the praise, and I appreciate the fact that you notice that, you know, that's not who we are. But at the end of the day, we're talking about the little guy, big guy thing. And I think it's a mindset, no matter where you are. If you come into that meeting, you're happy to be there, right? Okay. Because I remember talking to Clyde the year this 4x1, and I remember standing there and him telling his guys the day before the meet started, we're not here to watch, we're here to participate, we're making it to nationals, right? He said, if y'all ain't come here to compete, we'll put you back on the bus, send you back to where, Montgomery or wherever it is. I'm sorry.
I said it much more colorful.
Oh yeah. I mean, I didn't want to put all your trade secrets out there, right? But I stood there and heard that, and they went out there and they had because clearly you had defined that before you got there. That we're not trying to get to regionals, we're trying to get to the show, and that's the problem. People try to get to regionals, but because you came in there, and you know, I'm sure I didn't hear you say this, but I'm sure you told them, stop looking at the names on the uniforms and just run. You know?
Oh, yeah, we had a whole conversation about that.
Yeah. Knowing you as I do. So thank you, Mr. Lamar. But yes, I have been in the valley before. Thank you very much.
No, you saw the valley once.
No.
Congratulations.
See, okay. So when I first got to Florida, were we on the mountaintop already? Look, I've taken my beat, brother.
You did. Look, I'm sorry, world. No.
You have to be sorry.
He's actually taken a beating or two.
Exactly. We all have, you know. Beatings make you tougher, right?
For sure.
Taking an L every now and then is good for your soul. Trust me.
Hey, failure is a huge part of success.
Every now and then is the caveat.
He said, sprinkle it in. Just sprinkle a little bit.
I'll be too much of that mess around.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, let's sprinkle a little bit of this testing in and talk about that. Whereabouts testing. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it flawed? Or are the athletes like Christian Coleman and Nasser trying to skirt the system?
So as a point of clarification, because I think this is important for all of our viewership, I'm going to guess, Clyde, that you're probably best versed on this. Can you run through real quick, like the bare bones of what whereabouts testing is? Because I think most people watching the show don't know. They don't know the parameters of it.
Jesus. All right. Bottom line, once you have reached a certain status in our sport, you are going to be subjected to random testing by the governing, in our case by USADA, in some cases by WADA and AIU. The bottom line is this. It's random in the sense that you don't know on which day they are coming. But it's not random in the sense that they can show up whenever the hell they want to. You set the appointment time. It is up to the athlete to say, I'm going to be home every day from this hour to this hour, to 1 hour, and I'm going to be at my training location for these hours. No different than we know where our kids are supposed to be in class when they're not. You set the window. So if I set the window for Lamar to come and get my blood sample or my urine sample, and I'm not there, that's my fault. It can't possibly be anybody else's. And that's the basic premise of how it works. And since these stories have been popping up, that's the basic part that I feel like a lot of people don't seem to understand. The athletes set the time frame. That's it.
And so like when you fill out the form, you have to guarantee that you're going to be at your home for 1 hour window, and you have to guarantee that you're going to be at a training facility for what, a 2 hour window?
Well, whatever your training window is, right? So, they have the right to pop up at the track and demand that you pee or that you're giving blood that day, or they have the right to show up at your house. And so, like most people, like when I've had world-class athletes that I've been involved with as a coach, I've always told all of them, you're going to set your window at 6 a.m.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you might. I got it.
You might get woke up every now and then. You might be a little irritated because your doorbell rang at 6 a.m., but 90% of the time, you're going to be home at 6 a.m. And here's the crazy thing. From the American perspective, there's an app. If you're somehow there, all you got to do is send a text in advance. All you got to do is change the time in advance. Like, the system is, from the American perspective, the system is set up so much in favor of the athletes. All you have to do is be a professional, and you're not going to really have any issues. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for the people who get themselves caught up in these situations, because at the end of the day, as we talked about in the past, it's unprofessional. Now, Nasser came up, missed a handful of tests, got her thing. She fought it. She won her appeal. They gave her the pass. They gave her the exact same pass that they gave to Coleman the first time he screwed this up. That's another thing that people keep forgetting. This is the second time that this issue has popped up in a very short time period. So the fact that, like, people say, they're picking on this person, they're not. They're really not. Like, just be a professional, show up. And since I'm already speaking, since Lamar threw the thing, I'll answer the question. Could the system be improved? I imagine it could be. I think any system can be improved. But I really struggle to figure out how it could be improved or what about it needs to be improved. You have to test these athletes. It has to be somewhat, unknown when the people are coming, or oops, it's too easy to beat. Like, what are you really being asked to do? Be where you said you were going to be, not where Chu said you had to be, where you said you were going to be. Be where you say you're going to be for an hour. It isn't really that hard. And so, if I'm an athlete and I set my hour on a day where I'd probably like to be out on a date or something, well, that's not smart. Like, I'm gonna set it at 5 a.m., at 6 a.m. And here's something else that a lot of people don't realize. The testers themselves, it's not like there's a testing committee in every city of America. These people are regional. So, like, when I lived in Montgomery, Alabama, and I had a handful of professional athletes, Like the people that would come to test my athletes are in the Southeast region. They live in Atlanta, Georgia. So they're coming in a vehicle 2.5 hours to show up at the door when my athletes said they were going to be. And they test everybody in the region. So it's not like this stuff is easy to pull off. It's not like this stuff happens every day. The higher profile you are you going to be tested more? Yeah. Should you be? Yeah. That's kind of the way it works. If you run 10, 6, and 100, no one wants to test you. You run 9, 6,
You're taking the bad stuff.
everybody might want to know what's popping. It's part of the game. And if you're making millions of dollars or high 6 figures, I think you could be at home. That's just me.
No, I very well said. And like the whole issue here for me is like, so let's just address the skirting the system issue. Like I know you never want to put words in somebody's mouth. You never want to accuse anybody of anything because you don't know, unless you have facts. But sometimes perception becomes reality. And the perception here is that when you miss multiple tests and you miss, like as Clyde so eloquently said you were going to be here. There's an app that allows you to change if you're not going to be there. So that just leads to the suspicion of the whole thing, right? And so just be where you're supposed to be. I don't think the system's flawed. I don't think anybody's being picked on. I think like this is something that we've all heard the stories of. The testers are coming, get up the hill. The testers are coming, run to the hospital, to get on the dialysis machine and all that stuff. We've all heard those crazy stories. So when you become big in this sport, you've heard people before you say, I get tested 2-3 times a week sometimes, okay? So, and if you have nothing to hide, then show up and take your test. And then now you don't have this cloud over your wonderful career. Because we have 2 of the biggest names in sport now who the speculation for the rest of their careers is going to be, I wonder what they're doing. Like, why can't they show up and take their tests? And that's a problem. And that's a problem in our sport. It taints who we are. It taints people's ability to think that you can, that the coach can coach, the athlete can run and do things the right way. So I'm all in with Clyde. You know where you said you were going to be. And if you change your schedule and your whereabouts, be professional about it. Because you're one of the best people in the world. They're going to show up and test you randomly. You know that. So make yourself available. And then you keep making all your money. But now, because you didn't show up for your test, your money gets stopped for a while.
Yeah.
So I'll say this. I could not possibly add within that same realm to what you two just said. I think that at the end of the day, you got to be an adult in the room and be a grown up. And if you want to be a professional, be paid like a professional, you have to do your professional responsibilities. But I want to go one step further. My issue is twofold. One, I have a problem with us punishing. We mix people that can't figure out how to be someplace on time with people that test positive, right? Because they all end up getting blended together. And so my issue then is we punish the sport more than we punish the athlete. Like Christian is punished for sure, but the sport of track and field took a way bigger hit than he did. And so my thing is, how do I, in my head, I'm like, okay, I can't be one of the people complain about stuff without trying to fix it. So one day on one of my walks, this idea pops in my head, and I said I called Lucious on the phone. I said, what do you think of this? And so this is my thought. The way to continue to police the sport properly, but not take the sport down, is if you want to keep missing tests, that's perfectly fine. But if you miss a test, you can't run at any meet until you pass 2 tests. You want to keep missing tests? Your season won't start till June. If you want to miss a test the week before the trials, somehow you better figure out how to get tested between now and the trials twice, or you're going to miss the trials. At the end of the day, it's going to police you and make you have to be an adult and be where you're supposed to be. But you know what? That won't be a story on ESPN. You not running in this meet or you not running in that meet won't be the story because you won't be suspended for 2 years. I'm not saying it fixes it, But I do think that we do need to somehow address how we police the sports and keep it clean without risking the entire sport's reputation based on any one or two athletes.
But okay, I hear you, and I heard you that day. But what I'm going to say to you is what you just did made it worse.
Yeah.
Because now, because what you're now, okay, because look, we've all heard the stories about the masking agents and all that stuff, right? So if I miss on Tuesday, I'm going to tell you, okay, now I'm going to tell you when I'm going to show up and get tested. So if I'm doing something wrong, I can go back and mask it, and then I get away with it.
Yeah.
No.
See,
You're missing my point. That's the whole point, right? We don't know when you get tested. They're random, right? If you miss one, you can't run again till you pass the next two random ones. You don't get to decide when you get tested.
You didn't say random though.
You're right. I didn't completely clarify.
Hey,
That's my point.
Hey, you're a Cal guy. You got to do better than that.
Fair enough. The reason I like my system is because the ambiguity of not knowing when the next two tests would scare the crap out of me to never miss one of mine. Because then you have no control over your own schedule.
Okay, now that's a whole different snenario.
Yeah,
you just changed the whole
better than the original way.
Because I can tell you right now, Clyde's eyes were rolling in his head like that ain't working.
You were inviting problems.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
I didn't explain it all the way thoroughly, but now do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, now, but yeah, I do now.
It's an interesting idea. Yeah. Now that it's clarified, I'm not necessarily against it. I go even harsher. I'd say 3, but here's my thing. Whatever the tweaking is, because I agree with you that it is wrong as a principle to lump the people who have not tested positive in the boat with the people that have. But there's no official, like the system doesn't actually do that. That's about us. That's the way we internalize things. That's our psyche and people who write articles. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's human nature. You failed to do something you were supposed to do. There must be a reason for it. What's the reason? Like that's human nature. We do that. My thing is, and I've said this forever, I'm a super hardcore person when it comes to this sport and these issues. I don't care if people in the NFL are taking PEDs. It's a gladiator sport. I assume they all are anyway. I don't care. Maybe I should care. I just don't. In this sport, I do care. And my thing is this. Until you start hitting people in their pockets, that's the only shot you really, really have to get this thing the way it should be. Like, to me, you don't have to go away for 2 years. In this exact scenario, if the issue was Sawa or Christian didn't get a 2-year ban, instead they had to pay $2 million, I bet you he'd be where he needed to be. Like, if the penalty was financial, since short of Bolt, most people in this business don't make life-changing money like that, right? If the problem is hit you in the pocket somehow, I think you'd have a lot less of these type of drama. And I mean, that's always been my way. I don't know how I would do it, but I don't have any problem with the way testing is conducted at all. I don't have a problem with it. I don't, and that's because I can't see any better way to do it. Because you can't let them. It has to be random. It has to be a surprise. And let's be real. We all understand, even with the way it's set up, there's people that know how to. There's people that get away with beating the system. There's absolutely people that do that. Less today than used to be, in my opinion, but it does happen. So unless we come up with a way to really do that, I say hit him. I say hit him in the pocketbook.
See, and I'm gonna just go to this. Okay, this is a rules-based society. There's rules. You have to follow them, and I'm okay if you miss one. We're human. We make mistakes. Yeah. 3, and you notified the first 2 times, and if you do it again, what's gonna happen. So the arrogance of, I'm going to do it again, right? And I'm not trying to pick on Christian. He missed 6. Right? Okay, 6. So, well, let's give him a pass. No.
Right.
It's not like you didn't know what was going to happen if you didn't follow the rules, right? You knew what was going to happen, but yet you continued to do so. So whether it was arrogance, whether it was ego, whether it was him just being lazy, whatever it was, if he truly missed the 6th test, then he has to take his punishment like a man and move on. It's just that simple. And I get this thing that, okay, we don't want to punish them at the same level we punish the guy that failed the test, but you know the rules, okay? Right. And the rules are the rules.
And my
I just don't want to take the sport down. Like I don't
you
even have an issue with the
what,
punishment.
Lamar, and I hear you, but the problem with taking the sport down lies with the guy in the sport.
Yeah.
Okay. The people in the sport have to care enough about it, because we're not having this conversation if those 2 people are responsible. If they show up and take their test and pass it, guess what? We got to find another topic tonight.
And the crazy thing, because a lot of people, some in the sport, a lot of laymen's make that point that Lamar has made. It's a staying on the sport. Why so harsh? Blah blah blah. My thing is like this. To this day, Lance Armstrong still ain't failed a drug test. Marion Jones still ain't failed a drug test. So again, people, it's like they read the headline, they don't read the story, right? We all watched Christian win the 100 meters in Doha, and we were blown away by it. Most of us stood up and applauded it. People forget that he actually wasn't supposed to be there. He got a pass on the first set of violations to be there in the first place. And then after all of that, he missed them again. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I just, the sport will move on without you. That's the one thing that is for sure. Like when Bo retired, everybody's like, what's going to happen? Got to tell you,
they're going to fire the gun again the next track meet. That's what's going to happen.
Right. The sport's going to move on without you. I've never really been on the path, on the page of when person X gets busted for whatever, that the sport gets taken down. I mean, last I checked, the races were still fired with or without you.
And see, and being in the sport, okay, athlete misses a test. USA Track and Field notifies the athlete and the agent. The agent then lets me know, and guess what? Then we have a sit-down meeting and we go through, this is how you do this, and you do it properly so you don't ever miss a test again.
Yeah.
And so we educate and we make sure that doesn't happen. Because, like, look, you're going to miss one. I shouldn't say you're going to, but that happens a lot. Missing one is not uncommon.
Hence
we're
why
talking about 3 in one case and 6 in another. And that's where the problem lies here. So, and I get the stain on the sport. It sickens me that this happens and we get picked on because of it. But at the end of the day, it's because of our own doing. You know, we do this to ourselves, because if the athletes would show up and do what they're supposed to do, like I said, we don't have this topic to talk about tonight. If those 2 show up and take their test.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. We're talking about people not being adults. Like, let's be clear. I'm on the same page as the 2 of you. I'm just trying to figure out how best to punish I want to punish at the athlete level, not the sport level. I'm just trying to figure out how to do that.
Listen, it was an interesting idea. When it was explained, it's an interesting idea.
It is.
You know, I don't have any to contribute to.
Neither do I.
I have asked myself this question. So you're doing better than both of us on the new solution side. So bravo for some original thought. But yeah, I got nothing other than hit people with it.
Because you and I have had that discussion a lot. And I draw a blank every time. I'm like, dude, I'll not fix that one.
I mean, I went through every iteration of drug testing they have.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, to Clyde's point, once you get to the top 15 in the world, you might as well like know your drug tester like they're in your family.
Yep.
I mean, I've been tested 4 times in a week. I understand. I get it. It's annoying, but I mean, there's an annoying part to everybody's job. Am I wrong?
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, like, I mean, if this is your job, you gotta be willing to accept the one annoying part of your job,
especially when you're making over $1 million a year.
In a totally different and much smaller example, I'll offer this to Lamar's point about everybody got annoying parts of their job. When I was a college athlete, I wasn't always in agreement with my coaching staff on things. Okay. And in one incident, somebody thought that it was a good idea. They didn't believe, like most people know me, I don't drink, I don't do drugs. Most people don't believe that about me. And especially in college, given my social behavior, a lot of people didn't believe it. So one time, somebody thought it was a good idea. Like, you know what? I know how to handle this situation. He hasn't actually done anything, so we're gonna get him popped for drug testing. I had to report for drug testing twice a week in college for a month and a half at 5:30 in the morning. Please believe if I would have missed one, that was going to be a positive. Please believe if I would have came up dirty for, some street drugs or something, that was going to be my ass. Luckily, my thing was like, oh, this is funny. I ain't got no problem getting up early, and y'all damn sure not going to catch me dirty because I don't do these things. So we'll play this charade as long as y'all want to play it. You know what? Eventually they got bored. Now, I'm not top 15 in the world. They're never going to get bored with you as long as you're running fast. But that's a part of the game. You have to do it. Like, you can whine, you can cry, you can bitch, you can complain, but it's your career, it's your reputation, it's your money on the line. So shut up and do it. Or don't, and go do something else.
Well said. Well said.
And as my dad used to always tell me, do not come in this house complaining about your job. Either shut up and do your job or go find one that you like better. But do not come in this house complaining to me about what happened at work, because I don't want to hear it. He said, because you ain't going to be complaining on Friday when you pick up that paycheck.
Right.
Yep. Jake.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
Man. See, when we get dad's advice, that's the showstopper.
Yep.
That's you're right.
Jake has spoken.
I love it. I love it. Well, that rounded out our questions for the week. But no fear, rapid fire is here. So, Mr. Lucious, you warm? Look, he's so zen today. Bring it. All right. So these are getting really hard because now, like, I really have to think about these. Not that I didn't before, but now I have to really, because I got the good ones. So now I'm trying to figure out how I can stump you. So, all right. You ready? Did wifey like her birthday gift?
Oh, she said yes.
Okay.
She loved it.
Good.
She loved it.
Good answer.
Yep.
Good answer. Good answer.
Happy birthday, Angela, by the way.
Yes. Happy birthday.
Today she is celebrating the 26th anniversary of her 21st birthday.
I love it. She looks 21, so I give it to her.
Well said, Big League.
Shoot. It's a tough job out there in the streets.
It is.
So if you don't know, Mr. Lucious, I'm going to say graciously, you're an avid bowler. What is the hardest pickup you have successfully accomplished?
The 4-7-10.
Ooh. So I'm going to ask. So I have bowling history, and if you all don't know what we're talking about, you just have to Google it. Did you, right? So did you go from the inside or the outside?
Stay out of this, Clyde.
Did you go from the inside or the outside?
Oh, I just played the 7. Like I was trying to solid 7 and slid it over. Knocked it out. Got it. Yep.
Clean. Is that's the one you either you get it or you miss completely.
And here's the caveat to it. I used the dots to pick it up.
Oh, so you don't usually. Okay, so now I'm nerding out. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
I've been hanging around these cow people. I've learned, learned the math, the angles, and all that good stuff. Yeah.
It's the abacus. Don't worry.
Exactly.
What is your favorite field event?
Oh wow.
Right.
I'm gonna be honest and that like I've watched a lot of exciting triple jump competitions because of the people I've had on my campus, but honestly, it's the long jump. It's the long jump. It is. And as I said to you guys before, another event that I love to watch, the hammer, really intrigues me.
I hear
Oval,
you've got
not so much.
I hear you've got a pretty nice hammer cage out there now. So
Yeah, I do. It's all painted nice and
sorry. Just had a gut check that one.
Yeah.
What is your favorite familial memory?
Wow. Well, I don't think anything will ever replace being there to watch my children being born. Nothing will ever replace that. Holding my children in my arms for the first time is just an incredible feeling. I remember when I held my daughter for the first time, I was like, oh my God, what have I done?
I can't return her.
Yeah, no turning back from here. And then, I remember when MJ was born, it was just like, wow. But it just, that just incredible sense of, being very proud, but at the same time, understanding that now I was, in charge of helping grow and nurture, these little lives. So my children being born by far.
All right, let's see how hard left this one goes. What's your most memorable team memory?
Oh, come on. You are so trying to get me in trouble. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest with you. At the high school level, it was our first state championship in cross country. And because that one was really special because just 2 years removed from that, the year before that, we were fifth at our regional meet, and so we didn't make it. And then that group of guys came together, and I challenged them to never forget how that felt. And the next year, we won the meet by 89 points. And at Florida, it was a national championship. It was our first conference indoor championship in 2004. At Kentucky. Yeah.
Nice. All right, last fun one. What's your favorite midday snack?
Oh man, I don't know the exact name of them, but it's a cashew, peanuts, and raisin mix, and it comes in a gray bag, and they're made in Detroit. That's all I know, because I don't know the name of them. And it's like, can you give me one of the ones in the gray bag?
That's hilarious.
Because I've got Kyra and Taylor and Grace here from Michigan, and they're all from close to Detroit, so they get a kick out of it.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's hilarious. Well, Sir Lucious, you survived. Whew.
That was the least rapid of rapid fire we ever.
I know there was no rapidness at all, but fun at that.
Good question. Good questions.
All right. Well, we don't have to do too much redeeming this week, but we definitely do need to lift up some people and give them praise for letting us be or getting us to where we are as coaches and human beings today. Is there anybody who's jumping out of their seats to give some props? Oh, there you go, sir.
Fight to 2 seconds. What you got, brother?
My heartbeat props go to my entire familial unit, because other than everybody wanting to go to Orlando for Disney World, the only other thing I've ever seen my entire familial group locked in for is this election. My 8-year-old, the youngest, he was asking questions about the Electoral College and how do we know how the votes are being counted properly, and what if this and that happens, which I don't know if that makes me a good or bad parent, but I just know that as a father, as a leader of the family, the fact that everybody has been dialed in and off of electronics and wanting to watch the television and listening to adults talk about adult things, for me, that makes me feel good about what's going on inside this house. So my heartbeat props go to the Magnificent Seven familial unit.
Before we go any further, let me help you. So down the line, it's our 8-year-old, not mine. And clearly,
I didn't say our because the other half ain't on the show. So
it don't matter because she watches this and she'll be like, hey.
Hey, she doesn't watch the show. We're good.
Okay, I'm gonna call her and tell her that. Okay, I'm squealing. I'm snitching. Hey, Tamika.
This guy.
This mother effer said.
Exactly.
Right. That's how it's gonna start. He's like, this. Mm-hmm. Our 8-year-old.
Thank you. Would you like for me to go next, Clyde?
You already in there. Go ahead.
Since I'm clouded. Okay.
Yeah. You already in.
So I'm going to give my heartbeat props to a group of people tonight. And this group of people is, at this point in time in my life, incredibly large, and there's no way I could ever name every one of them. But I want to give heartbeat props to the parents of all the children I've coached over the years, from starting at Gainesville High, the Gainesville Striders, Buell's High School, University of Florida. I've had this incredible group of people that have embraced me. They've embraced my vision. They've embraced my discipline. And when I've talked to them about the criteria that I expect from their children and what we expect here at the University of Florida when I was at the high school level, I just want to say thank you to all the parents who have stood beside me, stood behind me, have propped me up at times and pushed me forward at times. Thank you for being an absolute incredible support system. And people have no idea how important it is to be able to pick up a phone and have a conversation with a parent about their child. Because if you know nothing, okay, parents know their children. If you can't figure out a child, you pick up the phone and have a conversation with the parent, you'd be absolutely shocked what you might learn in a 10-minute conversation about their children. Fight to 270, my man.
Mm-hmm. You see
I'm gonna pay for that later. I know.
For sure.
Would you like to close, or would you like me to go last?
I'll go. I have to pay. Keeping the theme of the election that we're currently waiting out the process. As I revealed earlier, probably like 25 episodes now ago, this is now the second election that I've participated in. And, I'll have to say, with the pushing of my best friends, I don't know that I wouldn't have participated, but it definitely, I would have definitely still felt mute prior to, which is the reason why I didn't take part in the whole election process, because being a Californian, you do feel muted because there's so many, and we're told that our vote doesn't make a difference. But, I say thank you to them for encouraging me to actually know what's going on in the election, local and nationally. And, as discouraging it is to vote blue and then see the results all red, I can say I tried, and as coaches, we know if you don't try, you never know. So maybe one day it'll make a difference and change the colors. And we see that now in 2020, how we've changed some colors unexpectedly, expectedly. So keep on keeping on, keep making your voices heard.
So it is the day after the election while we are taping this thing. And so there's no way that my heartbeat props aren't going to be about the election. So on the large scale, since my heartbeat props are to American democracy, which for the last 4 years has very much been under threat in many, many, many ways. And, you know, people have different opinions. Obviously, we have, you know, 70 million plus votes on one side and 68, 69 million plus votes on the other side. And you know, everybody that participated and stepped out there and had their voices heard, you know, I respect them at that base level because they got out there and said something. But there's a lot of noise that surrounds elections, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And one of I was writing about this earlier today, social media wise, and having conversations with some of my athletes and some of my family members about this. One of the biggest fights in popular culture right now is about the Electoral College. And it's funny that Lamar made reference to that. The Electoral College takes a lot of hits, and rightfully so. It's an archaic thing that today probably doesn't represent what it was originally intended for. But I want to make this point, and especially I want to make this point to Black America and the people who voted, who represent Black America. You need to maybe reconsider your positions on the Electoral College, because the fact of the matter is this: we are 15% of the population, but we're not 15% of the population everywhere in this country. We live in very specific pockets of this country in mass quantities. If you ever get to a point where the Electoral College goes away and the presidency is decided on a one person, one vote, no matter where you're from situation, the one thing that is absolutely should be clear to everybody today is that the power of the Black vote would be disintegrated instantly. Right now, because of the Black vote in Atlanta, Joe Biden has an opportunity to still win that state. The Black vote in Milwaukee decided the Wisconsin election. The Black vote in Philadelphia is going to decide, you know, the Pennsylvania election. The Black vote, you know, in in Detroit decided the Michigan election. Our power as a 15% minority is given to us through this process, and the Electoral College is vital to that reality. Right now, it just so happens that a big swath of people on the West Coast and a big swath of people on the East Coast who don't look like us just so happen to vote in our interest most of the time. That hasn't always been the case for Black America, where the majority of white America voted the way we wanted them to vote. If you take away the Electoral College, there's no reason for the presidency and the people who run for it to pay us any attention whatsoever. Because without state by state issues, our power would be less. So for me in 2016, it was really sickening to know that the Black vote didn't show up and ultimately handed Trump all of these states that I was just discussing. And as sick as I felt then, I'm even more proud, doubly proud about what I just witnessed in the last 24 hours. All of America, you know, participated, but Black America stood up and made our voices heard in a way that we've never seen before. And it is that result that has delivered Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to the presidency and the vice presidency. So for all the whining that we were doing, all the people that have their conspiracies, all the people that want to yell at the Democrats and what they may or may not do for us, now's the time to do that, because we put them in the seat. Now, build your coalitions and hold them responsible over the next 4 years, because they owe us a debt now. And America owes us a much larger debt as a whole. So if you care about those issues, you took the first step, you got the votes right. Now go out there and do something with the power that you have. But don't get it twisted. American democracy works. And what's going on right now is that it is working the way it's supposed to. So calm down if you're still freaked out. It's all good. It came out the way it needed to. And now we have an opportunity to fix a lot of things. So I'm proud to be here today. And I'm proud of Black America for what we pulled off here.
Amen. Well, gentlemen, once again, 31 weeks later, we've accomplished another episode. So 31. Holy
31.
moly. Yikes. They still let us come back.
One more episode than your age, G. We're doing good.
That's cute.
That was so sweet of him, wasn't it?
It's only the 8th anniversary of that one.
There you go. Good
Well,
job.
gentlemen, I know, right? I mean, hey, it's okay. When I taught high school, I used to get swept into the tardy sweeps. And I'm like, no. See these keys? I got a classroom. But thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Show it off. There you go. Everyone be safe. Definitely be safe, especially with the week that we're in right now. Be safe, make good choices. And until the next time, we will see you later. Thank you so much.
When the lights come on, the road just get to running. When the lights come on, opponents mess the plumbing. Heard you like it warm, hot, knife the butter. Truth hit them hard, knock them off that rebuttal. Tsunami, tidal wave to your puddle. Tough love, punch you in the arms, little brothers. Athletics LLC, there's no others. Track and field's placing will peel to go further. Hey, Wile E. Coyote, it's road runners. Feels like you know us, you've been with us the whole summer. If not for this quarantine, these four corners wouldn't be here, but we're here, so start learning. You gotta earn your stripes, gotta get your scars. Show you how to fight, but show us who you are. You lack experience, but still you wanna talk. And who is actually talking to? Your circle's kinda small. Heads prevail when the backbone's strong. Gotta keep it coming, no, it won't last long. Pass and fail, then sell the sad song. And if you don't check yourself, then that's wrong. Just trying to give you the real that you asked for. So why you keep cutting us off to ask more? We put it in slow-mo, but you fast forward. Athletics LLC, the task force.